The French captured 18,000 prisoners, including 23 generals, and seized nearly 500 guns. This was a devastating blow to the Spanish cause. However, to reinforce Suchet, Napoleon had drawn troops from other French armies in Spain, and then withdrew 25,000 of his best soldiers in preparation for his impending invasion of Russia. As a result, French forces in Spain were now dangerously overstretched, just as Wellington prepared to strike. Spanish guerrillas provided Wellington with crucial intelligence on French movements. Learning that the French forces opposing him in western Spain had been significantly weakened, he decided to launch an offensive before they could consolidate against him. On the same day Valencia fell, he laid siege to Ciudad Rodrigo on the Portuguese-Spanish frontier. Determined to take the city before Marshal Marmont could send reinforcements, Wellington ordered an assault after just 10 days. The attack succeeded, though Major General Crawford of the Light Division was among the 300 killed. Wellington then turned south to lay siege to the more heavily fortified city of Badajoz. The assault began on the night of April 6th. The first wave attacking the main breach was massacred. However, what was initially planned as a diversionary attack on the city's castle with scaling ladders succeeded, and Badajoz soon fell. The storming of Badajoz cost the British 3,700 casualties. In the aftermath, British troops rampaged through the city, looting, drinking, and attacking civilians. More than 100 Spanish non-combatants were killed before British officers finally restored order. With the key routes between Spain and Portugal secured, Wellington sent General Hill with a small Anglo-Portuguese force to destroy the bridge over the Tagus at Almaraz. This bridge was a crucial link between Marmont's army of Portugal and Soult's army of the south, as the next available crossing was 90 miles east at Toledo. Though heavily defended by French fortifications, Hill launched a swift and daring assault. The French were caught off guard, the bridge and its engineering equipment were destroyed, and the British suffered only 177 casualties. With the French lines of communication disrupted, Wellington was ready to advance into Spain. Spanish regular forces and guerrillas launched attacks to tie down as many French troops as possible. Meanwhile, Sir Home Popham's naval raiding force struck at French coastal positions along the Bay of Biscay. In just 4 days, Wellington's army reached Salamanca. Marmont, outnumbered, withdrew behind the Douro River. When reinforcements arrived, he recrossed the river and maneuvered aggressively, attempting to outflank Wellington for 6 days. However, Wellington matched him move for move, their armies marching in parallel, often within sight of each other. On the 7th day, Marmont made a fatal error. On the morning of July 22nd, Wellington's army occupied high ground 4 miles south of Salamanca. Marmont did not intend a direct assault. He still aimed to outmaneuver Wellington and cut his line of retreat to Portugal. Around 8 a.m., the French secured a hill known as the Greater Arapil, from which Marmont observed the battlefield. Marmont mistakenly believed Wellington was retreating when he spotted dust clouds to the west, which he assumed were British baggage trains leaving Salamanca. In reality, it was the British 3rd Division and a Portuguese cavalry brigade moving to reinforce Wellington's flank. Rather than retreating, Wellington was preparing to strike. At 2 p.m., Marmont ordered 5 infantry divisions to march westward to intercept Wellington's presumed retreat. The French 5th Division under General Maquin engaged what they believed to be the British rearguard at Los Arapiles, while General Thomier's 7th Division continued westward. Wellington saw the French left flank becoming overextended and seized the opportunity. Galloping 3 miles across open country, he personally delivered orders to the 3rd Division's commander, his brother-in-law Edward Pakenham, instructing him to attack immediately. Many of Wellington's staff officers struggled to keep up with his furious pace. Pakenham's troops, concealed by low hills, launched a devastating surprise attack. Thomier's division was caught completely off guard and was swiftly shattered. Thomier's himself was killed, half his division was killed or captured, and the rest fled. At this critical moment, Marmont was struck by a British shell and carried off the field, seriously wounded. His second-in-command, General Bonnet, was wounded an hour later, leaving General Clausel in command. 45 minutes later, the British 5th Division, supported by Portuguese brigades and General Lamarchand's dragoons, attacked. The French infantry formed defensive squares to repel the cavalry, but were first hit by British musket volleys and a bayonet charge. The French lines collapsed, and Le Marchand's cavalry charged through, devastating the French formations. Le Marchand himself was killed, but his brigade helped destroy 8 French battalions and capture 2 eagles. Wellington's attack continued in echelon as Cole's 4th Division advanced in the center. However, Pack's Portuguese brigade was repulsed from the Greater Erpil, and the division fell back in disorder. Despite the collapse of his left flank, Clausel attempted to mount a counterattack on the Lesser Erpil, aiming to salvage the battle. However, he was met by fresh troops from Clinton's 6th Division, who delivered devastating musket volleys. The French began to withdraw. As their morale collapsed, the army streamed away into the woods behind them. General Ferry's 3rd Division mounted a brave rearguard action to cover the retreat, but was soon outflanked and overwhelmed. Ferry was killed and only General Foy's 1st Division escaped in good order. As night fell, Wellington called off the pursuit, his army exhausted but victorious. He had decisively defeated Marmont's army, capturing 7,000 prisoners and inflicting 6,000 casualties, a 25% loss for the French, more than double Wellington's own casualties. General Ferry's 3rd Division mounted a brave rearguard action to cover the retreat but was soon outflanked and overwhelmed. The next day, dragoons of the King's German Legion charged a French rearguard and achieved the rare feat of breaking a French infantry square, capturing another 1,000 prisoners. Wellington now turned his attention to Madrid, forcing King Joseph to abandon the capital and flee to Valencia, where he joined Marshal Suchet. On August the 12th, Wellington entered Madrid to wild celebrations. At the same time, Marshal Soult, fearing encirclement in Andalusia, abandoned the 2.5-year-long siege of Cadiz and marched east to join Joseph and Suchet. The following month, Wellington advanced north, pushing the French out of Valladolid and besieging Burgos Castle. However, without heavy artillery, the siege dragged on, and the French defenders held firm. As powerful French armies gathered to the north and south, Wellington faced the threat of encirclement. He had no choice but to withdraw. His retreat became a grueling forced march through relentless autumn rain. The supply system collapsed and starving soldiers looted food from Spanish villages. Madrid was abandoned, and the French reoccupied it on November 1st. After 5 months of campaigning, Wellington was back where he had started. But despite the campaign's disappointing conclusion, he had liberated vast areas of Spain and further stretched the French forces. Reinforced and resupplied, Wellington would return the next year to deliver the final blow to Joseph's Spanish kingdom. The year 1812 had seen the tide of war turn, and not just in Spain. Because 2,000 miles to the east in Russia, catastrophe had engulfed La Grande Armée